This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter, and welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, July 22nd, is someone near and dear to me. Obviously, as a Blue Jay fan, you know that I gotta be a Dave Steve supporter and all that. So that's what I am, because Dave Steve is the man. He was born in 1957, so he's 64 today. He won the Sporting News Pitcher of the Year in 1982, but unfortunately not the MLB Cy Young Award. He lost to Pete Vukovich. Basically, the voters put wins over Dave Steve's accountability for some reason. Anyway, he's a seven-time All-Star. He won 140 games in the 1980s, the second highest behind Jack Morris. Steve played varsity baseball as an outfielder for Southern Illinois with the Salukis. And Bobby Maddock with Al Lamacchia were scouting for the Blue Jays and scouted him as an outfield prospect. Steve didn't impress, and then he was actually moved into the spot to be a relief pitcher, and his pitching surprised the Blue Jays, and they decided to draft him. Steve was a little unsure about himself being a pitcher in the major leagues. He wanted to be a hitter more so than not. There was an agreement in the minors that he would pitch one day, and then he would rest, and then he would play as a DH or an outfielder, and then rest, and then all that. To get his hitting and all that. So he came out with the Blue Jays in 1979, and he did fine. The Blue Jays had a terrible year in 1979, over 100 plus losses. But Steve actually was 8-8 as a starting pitcher, which was amazing. Basically, throughout the 80s, he was the star of the Jays and all that. He looked good. It was weird that, everyone thought he got he got hurt for the 1982 Sporting News AL Cy Young from Vukovich. I guess they kind of figured that Milwaukee was a star team and all that. Ironically enough, Vukovich did pitch in the inaugural season for the Toronto Blue Jays, and then Vukovich was traded to St. Louis. I forget who was it, but anyway, yeah. Steve is in the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. He's a building contractor in Reno. Took up the electric guitar. Steve actually released an autobiography called Tomorrow I'll Be Perfect in 1986 when he talks about his pitching road from pitching the Blue Jays before 1986. I used to have that book, and I really loved that book for years and years and years. I think I was 18 when I finally got rid of it. But anyway. So yeah, he was basically a power pitcher relying on high inside fastball and the brushback pitch. All that. However, he decided to move on with a slider that had a very late break, hard for right-handers to handle. Later on in his career, he developed his breaking ball repertoire with a dead fish curveball. He was a fierce competitor, and basically, he would yell at his teammates after errors and all that. Anyway, yeah, he would try to motivate himself and all that. So anyway, he got robbed of the 1982 Cy Young Award. Then, he was starting for the 80s. 1985 was when he led the Blue Jays to the ALCS against the Royals, and he pitched games 1, 4, and 7. Unfortunately, Game 7 was a terrible game for him, giving up the bases loaded triple to Jim Sundberg, which broke the Blue Jays' back and all that. Steve signed a giant contract. It was a term for 10 years and all that. Steve holds a lot of Blue Jay records for wins, starts, shutouts, strikeouts, complete games, and many other categories. All of that. So yeah, that was huge. So yeah, Steve did okay for the 80s. And then, He had a few off and again on again seasons. However, Steve was known for having no hitters broken up, chances for no hitters in the ninth inning being broken up. 1985 against the White Sox, he did that, but it was back-to-back home runs. And worst of all for him was that back-to-back starts in 1988, late in the 88 season. He had no hitters broken up. September 24th in Cleveland was when there was a bad bounce that jumped over the second base, over Manny Lee's head, and basically ruined his no-hitter. And then in his final home start against the Orioles, Jim Traber hit a moving single over the head of Fred McGriff. And in 1989, when Skydome opened up, well, in August '89, the Yankees were 1 away from losing via perfect game, but Roberto Kelly came through and hit a 2-0 pitch for a double and all that. It was hurtful. Steve would pitch great in the 1990 season and actually pitched the first no-hitter and the only no-hitter for Blue Jays against the Indians 3-0. The day before Labor Day, 1990. So Steve would then suffer massive injuries, shoulder and back injuries in 91, ended his pitching years. And he was 4-6 in 92, which saw him released. He was given a World Series ring, thank goodness for that. And then he ended up playing for the White Sox for a few games before retiring due to lingering back problems. Strange as it sounds, that Steve was not done yet. He decided to play for the Blue Jays after a 5-year hiatus from baseball, and somehow pitched in 19 games. He started 3 games and actually had a pair of saves. So that was amazing to see Dave Steve come in 1998 and pitch. I gotta see if I can find some videos about Dave Steve in 1988. But yeah, Dave Steve basically was a star pitcher. Ironically enough, I actually saw Dave Steve pitch in the 98 season when the Blue Jays took on the New York Yankees in that famous game I always talk about. You know, it was hardcore. I mean, to see Dave Steve come out for the 9th inning against the New York Yankees, the team that would win 114 games and the World Series and all that, and shut them down. It was just amazing. I enjoyed that game as much as everyone else did, I hope. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.